We've had a lot of new Supreme Court justices. We have a lot of cases getting a lot more attention. And I wanted to provide a resource for teachers, especially, to have a way to talk about this in a way that's age appropriate, right? Because we don't want to get all into the politics. There's all kinds of laws now being passed that's making it really difficult to have some conversations. And so I wanted to create a nice little resource. And so that's kind of like my journey. I, first generation lawyer, you have to figure everything out on your own. As much as my parents love me, they like, I've never done this. I have no idea. Like just even getting to college, then getting into law school, then passing the exam, then getting a job, then once you get the job, it's like you start all over again because you really have to figure out how to practice law after you graduate law school. It's two steps. You're learning the law in law school, then you graduate. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, now I have to actually figure out how to do this thing with all the knowledge that I have. And so whenever I've gone through the journey, I've had people to help me, and I've always kind of said, when I'm in a position to help other people coming behind me, I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can. So the books, the nonprofit, even being a professor is all about giving back and helping to create a path and illuminate the path for people who want to take the same journey.
Well, for those who are watching us live, this is Far Side Folios. We are here with Joseline Hardrick as she talks about her newest book, It's the Law, the U.S. Constitution from A to Z. And it is a children's book. It is a beautifully designed children's book, wonderful artwork and pictures, diverse character images. And she just talked about her own journey towards being a lawyer and her background as an educator in the academic spaces. Can you tell us, like, maybe since you've got A to Z, so without giving the whole book away, are there like one or two like key terms that stick out to you, or our favorite lines for you from your story?
Yes, well, I was actually a public school teacher, elementary. I taught poetry in the Bronx at Jonathan Hyatt Elementary many moons ago, just 1 year. So first of all, shout out to all the teachers. Wow, that was hard. I was really bad at classroom management. I was. I loved the kids, and but I just couldn't quite, get them all to sit down and do the work. But the one time that I could get, everyone focused was when I read a book aloud. I mean, honestly, even as an adult, we like being read to, don't we? So that's kind of, I just wanted to put that in there because you said the academic space, but I'm like, I know what it's like to be in that K-5 classroom. And I taught poetry, which I love because the kids always loved it. We've always made it fun, and so that's why my books always have rhyme. And so in this one, some key terms, really easy takeaways, right? So C is for Congress, right? So they can remember that Congress has two houses, the Senate. So S is for Senate, H is for House of Representatives. And I tell them each state gets two senators. Each the House grows with the country. So they're learning a lot of different concepts about the government. P is for president, right? He gets to execute the laws. And J is for the judicial branch. They get to interpret the laws. The three branches of government is one of those things kids can grasp very easily. So we cover the three branches and what they do. And my favorite line is Z. And it's funny because my best friend, picked up the book and said, I always want to know what Z stands for. Because Z is such a hard letter, right, to find words. So Z is for zealous. Zealous protection of our right to be free, fairness, and justice for all is our guarantee. So for me, that sums up the dream of the United States and why we formed this nation and why people like my parents immigrate here. Because although, we're still working on how do we make sure everyone really does get access to the fairness and the justice and the freedom that we talk about, the mere fact that the founders and the current government still wants that to be our goal is enough to motivate us to come and work together. And that is the big message I want kids to get from this book.
So when I say that representation matters, and you talked about unity, you talked about community helpers, you know, inclusivity, and when I say representation matters, what does that mean, especially for a story like It's the Law?
Earlier we talked about the founding fathers. You ask anyone about the Constitution in the US, it's the founding fathers. Yes, they were the founding fathers. They were the men who came together, drafted the Declaration of Independence, and signed it, signed the Constitution. But all these people were around them supporting them. All of these women were involved in that process. Black people were involved in building the Washington, D.C. and designing it. Frederick Douglass played a huge role in the creation of this country and the concepts that we hold dear now. Um, Indigenous people, Asian people have been here for centuries helping to build this country. So representation means in the book, I have all these different skin tones, right? All these different types of clothing indicating things like religion and culture. I have different hair textures so that children really understand, okay, it's not just the images that I've been shown. All these people are playing a role then, and they're playing a role now, which means that I have to play a role now, right? I have to engage when I grow up. Because if you keep thinking it's only a certain group of people who are responsible for everything, then you don't see yourself in it, and it might be harder for you to decide to get engaged. But if you learn, oh no, all these people played a role, we all play a role now, and so can I. It just becomes this easier mental step. It's not this huge jump anymore. And again, Ketanji Brown Jackson, I mean, she's just been such an inspiration. It's just this big celebratory moment. But man, if you watch those confirmation hearings, it was tough. It was tough. It was an uphill battle for her. And, but she made it through. And we have people like Hillary Clinton being the first female presidential candidate. We have Kamala Harris being the first vice president and Indian and someone of Indian and African descent. I mean, young people are growing up seeing this. There's a whole generation of young people who remember a black president for 8 years. That blows my mind when I realize that there's a generation of young people, right? Because before that, it was like, yes, it was always an older white male. And so this idea that I could be president seems so far-fetched. But now it's like, no, actually, look at all these people doing these things. You can do it too. It becomes much more realistic and attainable for young people. And hopefully it inspires people of all backgrounds, right? Not just that specific group, because that's the point of the United States. You have a chance. That's why my parents came here. No one guaranteed anything to them, right? And they knew there was going to be some problems. They faced discrimination, not just because of being immigrants and English second language learners, but also for being black. But they were like, you know what? Here we have a chance. We have access to public school education. Haiti still doesn't have a public school education system to this day. And so my siblings and I were able to get public education. And now I'm a lawyer, which was, would have been a very far-fetched idea if they had stayed in Haiti. And so, that's why representation is important, because we all want that chance. And we're more likely to take the risks and do the work that's involved in getting to those positions if we think it's attainable, it's reachable, and we'll have more people aiming for it, which is what we need. Lawyers represent us in civil matters, criminal matters, all kinds of things. And so the people who need lawyers come from all backgrounds. And so that means the lawyers themselves should reflect the community they serve, same as judges. So it's really important that we have more people, trying to attain those positions.
Ms. Hardrick, how would we follow you on social media? How can persons, get the book and catch up with what you're doing?
So I'm at JJ Hardrick on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn under Joseline Hardrick. I'm on Pinterest. I'm trying to keep up with all these social media platforms. I'm on as many of them as I can be on. YouTube, I have a lot of read alouds. So even if you're not able to buy the book, just go to my YouTube channel, listen to the read aloud with your kids, or you can play it if you're a teacher, play them in your classroom. And my website is Joseline Hardrick, my first and last name.com. All the resources are on there. So if you want to request a donation, there's a donation button. So if you're a teacher or a principal, school administrator, if you're a lawyer or judge and you want to donate a book to a classroom, please go on there and request it. And I donate to supply drives as well, school supply drives. So if someone wants a couple of the books to add to their libraries, just let me know.
That is awesome, especially for those teachers and educators and administrators who are just starting off the school year. It's great to have a free resource or tool that we can have access to, especially when we're trying to make those lesson plans and fill in the blanks, so to speak, when we hit those social studies content areas. So, teacher friends, make sure you check this book out. I'd like to thank my guest, Joseline Hardrick, for spending time with us this morning on Farside Folios. Ms. Hardrick, we wish you continued success with It's the Law, the U.S. Constitution from A to Z, along with the workbooks and all the books that you have for children and all of the work that you're doing to help with diversifying what the law looks like with your teaching in the academic spaces and helping graduate students navigate law school and prepare for the bar. So we thank you for your time with us on this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.